Mostly movies, where we mostly discuss movies, mostly. Tonight we're on the road. I guess that makes us a road movie, like Hope and Crosby or The Muppets. Well, we're on the road. I'm actually parked. I'm not driving at this time, but I'm parked here at Stop and Shop, where I go in and shop for some groceries and buy some salad and yogurt, because I am on a diet, which is not going too well. But that's another story, a podcast for another time. We're going to discuss The Black Phone, directed by Scott Derrickson. This is by far, so far, and I've not seen a lot of movies this year, but I've been pretty disappointed by most of the newer films I've seen this year, even ones that I've enjoyed, like Doctor Strange or Elvis, which I think are well-made films, and I do like them, and I do appreciate them, but I don't feel the desire or the need to really revisit them right away for certain reasons. Doctor Strange is just a little too much. Marvel films after Endgame have been very problematic for me. I mean, Spider-Man No Way Home has its moments, and it has a lot of great nostalgia, but without the nostalgia, once you separate yourself from, oh, it's cool to see Toby and Andrew again, and it's so great to see the guys together, is there that much to the movie? And, I mean, it's great to see Willem Dafoe again, back as the Goblin, but really, is there that much to the movie once you get away from the nostalgia? And there really isn't that much. It's sort of like The Joker, which I think is a movie that has grown on me, but really, other than that amazing performance, the movie sort of, it has its moments other than that, but really that's the real focus of the entire film. But Scott Derrickson's film, The Black Phone, is the first time Hollywood has correctly adapted Joe Hill and his writing the way that it deserves to be seen. Horns, you know what the problem is when they adapt Joe Hill? It's the same problem when they adapt his father, Stephen King. For the most part, the results are mixed to bad, with very few exceptions, such as The Shawshank Redemption or Stand By Me. And what those directors like Frank Darabont or Rob Reiner have understood about the King family is there's a subtlety, there's a certain poetry to their work and an irony to their work that often gets lost in adaptation. But Derrickson joins that small group of filmmakers that has been able to adapt a work from the King family successfully. And in this case, this is one of the few cases, like The Shawshank Redemption, where I believe that the film surpasses the original source material. The story was first published in 20th Century Ghosts. It was a good short story, but I think that the film adds a depth to it, it adds a humanity to it, and it adds a drama to it that was not present in the book. There are certain scenes in this book, and it isn't even necessarily the horror scenes, but some of the more dramatic scenes are so hurtful and so powerful. The kids are wonderful actors. This is really what it was like in the 70s for a lot of kids growing up in suburban America. This is not Spielbergia of E.T. or Poltergeist or anything like that. This is a real neighborhood with some real rough kids. And there is things in this movie that I'm actually quite surprised a lot of the parents of these actors signed off on, because there are some really, really intense moments that would have really, God rest his soul, but if Gene Siskel had seen this film, he would have given it a big thumbs down, because he always had a problem with child endangerment. And there's a lot of real terror and real moments, but also at the same time, I feel, know your kid and know what your kid can handle, but I feel this is a film that if a kid is about 14 or 15, and if they can handle it, I actually think that it would be a movie that, as grim and as dark as this film can be, I think that this film is a film for younger viewers that maybe have seen a few horror movies that are getting into the genre. I mean, I'm not telling you show your kid The Black Phone, because it's very hard R. This is really brutal, this film. But I think if they can handle it, I think that this might be a good film for them, because I feel like these are the types of stories that these young kids that are getting their minds turned to mush from comic book movies need to see. Young people today need to see movies like Stand By Me, or they need to see films about young people that are very intense and have something really to say. And I think the problem, and you know, I don't mean to bash any particular studio, but the problem with all these comic book movies and these franchises and these Star Wars things is that it's keeping them from maturing on a cinematic level. And I think that they need to see stuff that's a little bit more mature, because it seems like everything they're seeing is just geared towards the youthful nature of us, of the moviegoer. And a lot of these comic book movies and a lot of these, Disney things and a lot of these Warner Brothers cartoons and things, it's kind of keeping them into candy store cinema. And I think that they need to see something more substantial and something that's about real life, and that there are real dangers out there. And to me, what was really fascinating about this film, it wasn't just the horrors of what's underground. It's not just the horrors of what's lurking in the shadows, but sometimes the greatest horrors can be in our own homes, and you see that both with the villain, where there's a character, not to give much away, but there's a character that's in very, very close proximity to the crimes, and he has no idea. And a lot of the children, there are horrors in their home. There's abuse. Now, this is a film that does not shy away from showing cruelty and alcoholism and real difficult things. And again, these are not issues that are not put in most movies today. And that's one of the amazing things about the horror genre, is that it can deal with these tropes in a way that, it's not being dealt with in today's films. And that's what's so great about Joe Hill as an author. And if you ever get to read his work, I do recommend it very highly, because like his father, he has a way of tapping into our fears, and he's the guy that talks about the things we don't like to talk about. 20th Century Ghosts is a good short story collection. Horns, The Fireman, but his masterpiece, his undisputed masterpiece of literature is Nosferatu, which the audiobook read by Kate Mulgrew, she also did a bang-up job reading The Fireman, but her audiobook of Nosferatu is fascinating. And I'm not saying I listen to it every December, but there's been quite a few Decembers where I'd start it usually at the beginning of the month. It's a 14-hour audiobook. So if you have any long drives planned, put on Nosferatu. Check it out. Again, it's very violent. It's very horrific. But it's a fascinating, fascinating book. The AMC series of the same name was very well cast, but they blew it in terms of the story. Certain motivations of the characters, certain characterizations were completely done all wrong. But if you get a chance, do not watch the series Nosferatu on AMC. Read the book and go and see The Black Phone, because while it is now on demand, it's on Vudu and some online retailers. It should be available to rent in a couple of weeks. It is a dark film. It is a very grim movie, but it's also one of the year's best films. Check it out. It's fantastic. I can't recommend it enough. Let me just... I didn't set up the tripod because this was really last minute, folks. Okay, horns up for The Black Phone. Way up. Definitely going to be on my top 5 of the year. And currently, as it stands now, it's not saying much because 2022 has been a pretty lame year for movies. But The Black Phone is currently my favorite film of the year. Fantastic film. Check it out.